So here we are, another episode of the Well Within Her podcast, and I am super happy to be here with Alex, who is today an investor, both angel and VC investor, but there is a journey behind this. And so, Alex, can we start by a quick intro? What should we know about you?
Absolutely. Thank you for invitation. I'm absolutely happy to share my journey. It was not sweet and straight. It was full of bumps, but this is how it looks generally. So yes, as you said, for now, I'm an angel investor. I actively invest in Europe and Asia. Also, I joined last year. I joined a professional VC firm that also investing. So I got much more deeper into this industry, and I absolutely enjoy it. But yes, this is last 3 years more or less of my professional journey. And before I was, I would say like I had two careers, but everything around technology and IT, so to say, because when I started to work in general, I was in IT industry. So I spent there almost a decade with like roles that were around business development and always internationally. I was like somehow obsessed with the international component, and yes, that worked well. And now when I'm like meeting other investors from all over the world, it was a good obsession to have because it gives me some kind of openness. And then after this, after the time I was working for other companies, then I actually decided to start my own. That was after like very short consulting adventure, let's say. I was asked to commercialize like internal innovation, and then it didn't work out that well. I would say, but thanks to that, I was thinking, okay, I'm safe enough, like personally, so I can actually start my own company. And then I started to continue, like I tried to continue building my own startup or innovation, like, so to say. It failed terribly, but at least I had a lot of experience having my own company. How does it work? I had to like sell and deliver everything. So it was a big lesson for me. And then actually, due to my personal life, there was I wouldn't say necessity, but like I agreed to decision to move to Middle East, to famous Dubai. And I was really happy back in Poland. I'm Polish originally, so I was living in Warsaw before, and I agreed to move even if I was like really pretty happy in Poland. I really invite everybody. It's really a nice, vibrant city and really cheap for the European standards. And then I had to find myself a little bit anew, and in between, I was fortunate enough to have my very personal investments, like just the real estate, right? Because it wasn't anything planned; it was just an apartment that I bought together with my husband for ourselves. But then it was just like such a great turnout out of events that we just sold it very well, and then I actually had the capital, right, to get to get into investing. And yeah, that's more or less how it started.
Let's start, like I'll take a step back in that sense. If we go to your kind of, well, childhood formative years and money mindset, can you talk a little bit about your journey there? Is like you were just saying before we got started that the start was like a humble start in a sense, but can you pick up something from there that you would feel that today forms your mindset overall?
Absolutely. This is also the background I'm coming, let's say, geopolitical kind of background, because I'm coming from Central Eastern Europe. So we didn't start from high, let's call it that way. So in this way, it was humble. But at the same time, I was very fortunate because my father was earning very good money at the beginning of this. So the time when we were together, like let's say as a family, my father, my mother, and my brother, we could have like some travels that was not available for others. That was just not a common thing, right? But I'm super grateful for that, and this was one of the best things that could happen to me, because I got a decent education because my parents were like, let's say, pretty much nerdy. So, but also the travels that we could pay for. It was really not the time when Polish people could travel all over the world and or even Western Europe and check Paris and Louvre, for example. And that was given to me. I really see that was something I was. Yes, I was blessed with. But then no story is as simple and sweet. Once my parents has split it, and then it started to be a little bit of a bumpy road. And this is so typical. So also that's why I advocate for women to be independent and like really not be putting all the eggs in one basket. It's nice to be when it's nice and like marriage or whatever partnerships works out, it's great. But then lots of things can happen. So from really good entrepreneurial family with having a lot of possibilities to travel and like I didn't have to suffer. Then I really had to suffer. I mean, conflicts of my parents. I was even like kicked out to like old house that we had because we moved, right? But
Yeah.
then we came back to the house and then in the winter it was really not fun to not have a warm water or heating. And I was, middle of Europe and like me, like having 10, 11, 12 years, having my, let's say, nerdy interest in life. I really wanted to do something and learn and like discover. But yes, that was pretty humbling experience. It was not fun, but now I'm really also grateful that actually, if you tell me now, like, okay, tomorrow you have to survive on the streets or like in really like on $2 monthly, I'm not too scared to do that.
Well, how would you describe your relationship with your mother? Has that been the key thing there influencing you, or?
I would say like, of course, like how the events has gone, it definitely influenced me because I saw in my own eyes how it is if you just give the power over your financial freedom and whatever capacity to other person. Sadly said, like, because it's not very unique story. It's
Yeah.
a pretty common story, unfortunately, especially 90s and early 2000. Now it's changing a lot. I see that and I'm really happy for that because for my parents it was like they were in the conflict, right? They didn't want to be together. But sometimes, you have a great company, everything's going good, but only the man is taking care of that and something happens to him. And then what, right? So it is really crucial to just be aware, right? So I'm really happy that it's changing in Europe, Eastern
Yeah.
Europe.
You're kind of saying that this was the main thing for you to steer to become dependent and really have your. So how did that start to
Okay.
almost like demonstrate in the way you were growing up perhaps and then becoming where you are today?
Yes, this is actually a good bridge to jump because like I was somehow just not afraid because life sucked so badly, right? With my mother in this house and like oh my God, like it was really not a cool place to be for a teenager. So then like somehow I was very brave in a way. Like when I was 16, I was actually able to convince my mother to let me go to another city because I come from a small town, like 50,000 people, and then there is just typical like small town kind of life. And I just somehow came to my mother and said like, you know what? I found a cool school in Gdańsk. This is like on the seaside, north of Poland, like 300 kilometers from my town. So it was a long journey, like long distance for that times and the age. But then I don't know how I made it, but actually my mother agreed. So I changed my high school. I changed because first class I made still in my hometown. But then like for second, I just like went all in and I said, okay, now or never. If you're coming from maybe very comfort place, then maybe I would be like, oh, how do I survive without my mama's sandwiches or whatever? It was like, okay, of course, I'm going tomorrow. And I really did like that. So then in this way, I started to go to school in a bigger city in Gdańsk. And then I have seen that people are living differently. They can go to shopping malls and like spend, the $5 for McDonald's. And I was like, oh my God, $5? I have that for like full month.
Yeah.
Right? So I think that okay, there is a lot more. And I just started to think how can I get some additional job or whatever. Of course, not immediately because I was still like underage. But then okay, Can I be like some kind of promoter, handing leaflets? Because even like at that time, like $10, $15 was like really life changing for me.
Okay, wow. So you kind of you took the initiative, which is great. And I think you also bring topic of representation, that we actually see what is possible, because very often based on where we grow up or where we are, we don't necessarily. So I think that's a great point, that and you also had that drive. Let's move on a little bit in terms of your career. Maybe I'll already go into this sort of your entrepreneurial, because it feels like from your story that you had that entrepreneurial drive. I mean, that was already an example perhaps of that, but yeah, it seems that you had that from young age. Is that kind of fair to say?
Yes, it's fair, but also maybe because my parents were having an accountancy firm, so that doesn't really like, accountancy always sounds like such a like down to earth thing, but they were actual entrepreneurs and they worked from home in 90s, right?
I know for sure. Yeah.
So for me, that was like a normal thing. So I think that was also part of this.
Mhm.
And I see a lot of women that I talk with, and they're entrepreneurs or trying to get more into the like financial world. They say like, yeah, somehow it's just I continue what my parents did, because it was never 9 to 5 and never like okay, from paycheck to paycheck. Sometimes it's like from the 3 months of zero income, right, to like
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
so that's another part of the entrepreneurial journey, but definitely that was the something that was just natural for me. But then also like I realized, okay, and of course I was educating myself a lot. Like I always loved this kind of books, like how to become rich and blah blah blah, right? Because I've seen my friends like buying stuff that I couldn't buy that time, and like okay, there must be some way to get that. But I really was like always trying to find a way to get myself into just earning some money. And okay, at the beginning, I just, okay, the best asset I had was me speaking English, be okay with earning $2 an hour with handling leaflets, right? But then somehow I developed very early that I would say ownership mindset. And this is something that I observed since like many years, that it's really, really unpopular. It's so natural for men, but for women, okay, they normally want more to get a better job, educate themselves even more, even if they're overqualified already. But so this is my motto or like message, because once you will try to get into owning things, and that can be whatever, small shop, it can be shares in a company that brings dividends, or bigger company because it's your family business, really not you're suddenly not selling your every hour of your time when you work. So when you work, you get this pay. But then if your work is bringing such a value, and like it brings into the bigger organism, which is a full company, then you actually get like so this is what we discussed when you first met. And because hard work, okay, how much harder you can work, you can get health issues, you can have even mental issues, whatever, right? And then you're stopped on your journey. And so that's why it's so important. And even when I was working, because I know why you're asking about the entrepreneurial part, but not everybody can just like, drop everything and like start their own company. It's really hard, and like it's not as glamorous as people think. Oh yeah, just start your business. Oh,
Mm.
you really need to have something to offer, and like some financial stability first, or at least be prepared to like eat just rice for 3 months. So what I wanted to highlight is even in like one of the companies that I was working in, I was like always trying to say, okay, you don't have to pay me more monthly, but like tell me how can I buy a small share in that company. This one didn't really work out because it was very early in my career. It just didn't develop too well. I still earn my money, but if I already work for something, I want to own it, even a small share, because then whatever help, and also like put this into perspective. I really want women to understand that, because let's say like let's use a very, very common example, like the public, a very well-known example of like Coca-Cola, right? Let's say you were working as some manager in 70s. You got your salary, but you also got your options or like part ownership in there. Even if you will retire, this company still earns now, even if you don't work there, brings you the money, right? So this is the goal. And like sometimes it's better to actually work for a smaller money at the beginning, but then have the possibility to yeah, always have the money back from the work that you've done in certain time of your life.
I think this is a really, really important topic, right? Why is it so? Do you think, I mean, we've been here at The Wealth Within Her, we've sort of had this discussion often about negotiations. Like we as a woman, when you're negotiating your salary package or your kind of your employment package, why are we not negotiating or asking for that? Is it then is more like an educational barrier that we just simply are not educated in that way? Or what are your thoughts about this? How would you change this? Or like what would you change perhaps in that sense that we could become a little bit more sensitive to this? Because I absolutely agree with you.
Thank you for that question because this is so important. And what I observe, it's not even that we don't negotiate. We know that we can negotiate something. Women are getting more and more competence around that and they just go for it, right? They try to get what's better. But the common mistake I see, they just try to squeeze out of something that is already empty. That's why, for example, I was going to IT industry because it was higher paid. I could be selling something easier or something that is easier sold because, you know, in the beginning of 2000s, it was also still IT was just growing, but it was so few people that was getting that and wanting to educate themselves. I was like, okay, so even with the starting point, it's higher. It's a future. If you look really like structurally on the statistics where women work, they're in so many times in jobs or in occupations that are like not scalable or like you can't really earn much. If you're a teacher, forget it. Maybe if you're a medical doctor, but then you have to go for the lucrative parts of medicine, right? Then also like if you're around. Lots of women workers are always in the taking care of others industry. This is of course very very important, but it was always set on women because this is our natural, right? But then it's always very very low paid.
I just come back to reflect on how society puts on a lot of these norms to us that we don't necessarily see it in that way, right?
Then you're also selfish, like, oh, you're pursuing your career. Of course, because that gives me freedom. Then with freedom and money, I can do whatever I want, right? I have like
Yeah, yeah.
no locker around my head and my hands, so I can't do anything. And this is actually one of the things that I'm really I'm treating money as a tool. It's just a tool to give me certain like values, right? If I earn enough to live well and like I don't feel like working on or I need to take a break, I can afford that in a sense. And then I'm not a slave of I need to buy the next car, next home. Like this is also one of the things like we get so much tempted by the advertisement and like I'm living in Dubai, so it's almost like I'm in the center of that kind of luxury lifestyle, but not really. Like nothing can pay for freedom. This is the best thing you can have with money, right?
I would actually love to spend a few minutes in that mindset because I think what we've found very interesting here in these discussions is that as women we are perhaps more risk averse, that we kind of keep the money when it comes and we don't want to let it go, which can be a good thing. But then obviously in a bigger picture, for you to actually care about your wealth and your financial like freedom, as you put it, how could we actually start educating ourselves so that we could see money as a tool, like you say, almost like money is sort of an energy for you to be able to do things, because we're all obviously kind of creating mindsets that are not helping us, I guess.
Yeah, it's all true, but then myself being in the places where I literally had like $2 to survive, again, structurally and historically, women are able to have their own accounts and like take jobs since like last several dozens of years. So it is really something that we're starting from really low level, right? So it's just now we start to like inherit lots of wealth from generational wealth that like actually now women can inherit. So I would also like do the same. Like if you really have nothing to, or you have to survive, you wouldn't think about investing or like doing risky behaviors. Okay, I said when I was 16, I was super risky and brave, but then I also knew, okay, I cannot be risky with buying this Coke for like, 50 cents back then, because I know I might need this because, yes, this is like, 10% of my budget, right? So absolutely. It's really important to also understand exactly that the money is the tool. And like, you can always earn more money, but you can never earn your energy and time back. So this is my formula for speeding up with my wealth journey. So the more resources you have, and this can be, of course, money is the easiest one, but also like your network, your whatever, right? So everything that you build throughout all your professional life, you can use that and pay to other people or like to other companies to get your results quicker. And this is actually one of the things that I see women are much more or less risk averse, like you said, because they will say, okay, we don't know if we're going to be like profitable next month, if I can pay for my people. So I will not buy this tool so that we can do our marketing better. And then men quite often are, okay, of course, we need to push into that because then we will get more money to keep it running. And like, it's also combined with this asking from lower amounts and then asking like from like the wrong parts, right? Where there is no money.
Let's go to your current job and what you do. I mean, your day to day. Can you share how does your typical day to day look like?
So it's really, really only more or less only two extremes, because I either sit whole day at my home office with laptop and having like, sending emails, having online meetings and so on. And then the other extreme is like when I go to conferences and events. So then it's like really another extreme. But this is the only thing that matters. And like I was thinking, okay, if I'm an investor and I invest my private money into startups, I need to be sure of two things. First, of course, to like have a right network so I can get the right deals. This is crucial. I see how much difference there is if you really have a network. So then I don't have to run around like crazy and like check 100 deals. No, the right ones are actually landing in front of my door almost.
Yeah.
Of course, it's like simplification, but you know what I mean. And then the second part is I need to be sure that my startups grow and they get when they need and they are really going good, that they get their other investors jumping in and investing in them, because startups is really long journeys, and I'm jumping into very early stage just because I invest pretty small amounts of money, the so-called tickets, right? So it's really important. So the more investors I know, the better I can help my startups. And also like just because I had like international network, not only like with investors, but like throughout all my career, right? I can connect them with like, okay, potential client, or like, okay, this is a sector that you should go in. This is more or less the only two things that I'm doing. But of course, like there is lots of investors, angel investors, that are doing it as a more like a passively and like side. I really loved it so much, and I seen that this is something that can move the needle, because once you have a trust of investors, you can help them invest in the right companies, and then you're the one that's like also seeing what to propose to them. So for example, I would prefer that it would be more investment into healthcare than in rockets. Of course, it's a bigger issue to discuss, but this is how I see my kind of role of moving the needle. And then I joined this other company, and again, like I said, I tried if they're serious and can really like be my backup, because I'm the entrepreneurial part. I will never be this kind of hardcore legal and financial analytics person. So I really joined them for that reason, and they invest themselves. So we started as associate partner. Okay, let's see if I can like work with you, if it's okay. But then the first opportunity that happened, they said, okay, for our associate partners that are active, we actually give opportunity to buy a share in the holding company. I said, okay, of course, I'm in. This is like the best investment. So whatever will happen within the group, I will always directly and indirectly be the beneficiary of it. So again, this is this kind of thinking, right?
Yeah, I want to go back to that, when you say the industries that we're investing, or like let's say where the money kind of goes these days, because at the start we talked about this fact that a lot of women go to healthcare, or that they are in industries that tend to be less investable. So how do you see this as an angel investor? Because to me there's a little bit of this, that what are the industries that we value, because we need to start valuing the healthcare and some of these industries, although they're maybe not making the hockey stick type of profit growth. Is it more that, oh, but why are we not actually valuing these industries that maybe as of now have been sort of more woman, led in a sense?
This is like very, very important topic, and like I'm so glad you mentioned that. So yes, there is industries that are more dying, and then some that are more developing. Printed press, it's more or less dying, right? So if you would try to make a big business out of it, yes, maybe that's not the greatest option for now. And then all the AI or all the kind of tools, even IT tools, right? This is more or less growing because everybody wants to digitalize and be online. So that's one thing. But then, I will give you like very, very sad example actually, because like some years ago I was stereotypically as a woman, I'm doing my nails quite often, and then I was just out of curiosity, I have seen like maybe 3 male stylists in my entire life, and it's always women, right? So this is, you can only have as many manicures or pedicures in a day, right? It's just not
It's not very scalable.
Yes. Come on, like people are making really great money on products around that industry, cosmetics industry. Come on, that's like such great, and like whatever, even care, right? Whatever industry. But then this is what I meant. Like I'm a bit angry that women are stuck in this very low paid, non-scalable part. Because yes, if you say that you're working in the beauty industry, you can say like, yes, I'm a nail stylist, and this is, if this is just a good entrance point. But then if you're having a company, right, you can have a saloon, but then you can have a owner of or producer of the nail polish. You can be the producer or somebody that is having a production line for the lamps, or right. And this is actually pretty big business, and this is scalable. So I'm angry on that. Women are so often stuck in or not even thinking that it's even possible. And any kind of company, if you see analyze this ownership structure, even like you take like the big typical women kind of industries, fashion, the beauty and so on, in the boards, owners, it's men.
Yeah.
And this is the sad example. I was like literally taking the most popular and super successful nail polish brand of, it was from Poland. But then I checked this online register. You can see everybody that's producing that, it's only male. I found one woman. And that was obviously, that's good, because like she was probably getting it half with her husband, because it was the same name, five owners. But then this is what I mean. And okay, if you will get a challenge, like okay, you will, I don't know, even if you want to have a baby, right? It's like impossible. You will be working in this industry as a stylist. But if you're having a company, and then especially the bigger one, you can employ a professional CEO, professional whatever kind of position, right? You're still the owner. My big wish and like dream that like it's gonna be much more women that are owning things. And then how to get inside there. Of course, this is a journey, but if I like, okay, jump on this stylist job, if you're a good one, then you can open your salon, then you can build your brand, and then like out of the brand, you can start to open franchise, and like other people will work under your brand, and then it starts to be really professional. But then again, this is when you really need to start. You will not open a chain of saloons if you will be trying to do it all by yourself and without investments. And then the best one, and here's where I can also like help, and I also want women to learn a little bit more how to get the investors' money, because barely any business is built just like barely from scratch, right? Or it takes 40-50 years. But if you like have additional capital, it can be from private investors, from banks, from whomever, right? And also you don't have to know it all. It's just, yeah. And this is another thing, like I really have to say that, because this is a little bit unpopular opinion, because I'm so angry that women are getting so much education, because we're so busy with getting another diploma. So like we're already, all the men has already got their companies, got investors, sold their companies.
Yeah, I think you're bringing up so many things that are part of our journey getting there. Like you say, taking the ownership, learning to ask for money. Like, I don't know why we don't. This is what I hear quite often, is as a business owner, I'm scared to ask for money, which I can relate to some extent. But why is that? Guys are not scared to ask for money, So I think you're spot on there, and I think in that sense doing a great job. We just, yeah, definitely need more of that type of mindset work. Like, yes, we have our space there to own those health salons or.
And here it's also one important thing, because like I will not be delusional and saying like, okay, there is no discrimination. There is so many insecure people, and like it can be men and women. So it's not that easy to actually make it in general. So I would really, really wish that there will be more women that are really kind to each other and really want to make it, and also in a financial way. I mean, if you have a great company and I have a great company, we can make business together. But it's somehow when guys are going for like, they take a beer and then they have three businesses already together. And for women, it's almost so shy to even think, oh, because it doesn't make sense, or like, oh, I will be seen in some way. Yes, it's not about being aggressive, right? But it's like once you have a supportive and entrepreneurial women around you, it's easier, because like if you have like the one that really went through like ups and downs, and she really wants other women to succeed, then it will be not much easier shot, right? To ask for help, to like try to get business, to not only, I don't know, chit chat. And this is part of my sadness around the women industry, I would say, the events, because okay, lots of things are said, we need that, but then I would love every woman were really okay, yeah, I'm here to also make some business, because you are delivering something, I can buy it, and then like I can make more business, you grow more, you're stronger, right?
Absolutely, we need to support each other and build together. I guess that's kind of the, like, build together, be ambitious together. Is there anything we haven't spoken about in your personal journey that you would still like to add that we haven't really covered so far?
Mm, I would say maybe one thing, because like it was coming quite up and down with like how much money I had in like earlier, but then once I was having a lot of money on my account, right, the moment where I could start investing, that was very, very surprising for me, that I thought, okay, I will want to buy like all the bags and like, do everything, but then like suddenly, okay, I don't care. So like I just got myself one till today, and like, okay, not even with a logo or whatever. So this is like what we have to be aware, because like we can be, I don't want to use the strong word manipulate, but it is a sort of manipulation, because everybody wants to sell us everything, whatever, from cream to bag to new houses,
Yeah.
to you just don't need all that. Like or like you just really need to have like certain level of comfort in life. Of course, it's nothing wrong with having a yacht, right? Don't take me wrong. But what I've seen, the biggest piece for me, it was when I got the money, it was the piece that I can actually have a luxury of say no to things or not be dependent on anything. If I don't like the project, or like some job is like, then yeah, like the best thing is actually to just be able to have a small things, like go to restaurant with your friends because you have one and you have time to meet with them, and just like pay for your doctor once you have some issue, and then yeah, then whatever else, it's just like addition.
Yeah, so it's not what we think. We're kind of thinking in our heads that, or then I'm going to be so happy to buy the bag or whatever. But at the end of the day, it's not that actually.
Yeah, yeah, it's nothing wrong with having bags. I really love them. It's like once you have the rush of buying something, and but then it's actually one of the impact on life, that you have a good relationship.
Yeah, yeah, and it definitely, it comes back to a lot of this in terms of your wealth definition. Like
Mm.
ultimately freedom, like you say, freedom to be able to walk away from situation, to be able to say no, and then actually value those relationships that are important. That's almost like priceless, right?
It is for me. Like I give my subjective opinion, but this is what I really believe in. Like this freedom, and like not non-dependency is actually giving me more drive to work more on like things that I care about. How to include more women into owning stuff, not only like checking the new diplomas.
That's brilliant. Alex, thank you so much for spending the time here. It was great and insightful. So Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Let's this message spread.